Hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and this is rather excitingly my Rover 200 VI, which arrived just a few days ago in the last video about the 200 VI. In fact, it was the first video about the 200 VI. Since it arrived, not much has changed. The immobiliser is still jammed on and the head gasket is still very failed. However, the immobiliser, the next video will show hopefully some kind of resolution to that, because I've got something happening later in the week when hopefully we'll get that sorted out. Secondly though, things have been arriving in the post. Firstly, the V5 actually turned up in a matter of days. I couldn't believe how fast the V5 turned up for this thing. It was actually astonishing. Secondly, an endoscope arrived. I erroneously said that the head gasket had gone, I think, a couple of years ago. In fact, it only went at the beginning of the year, so it's not been sat in its own cappuccino froth for too long. However, because there is always the worry that because the engine's been sitting in a bath of cappuccino froth with water and oil, the internals might have started to go rusty. So before I go too far down the road of stripping things apart in the engine and figuring out what to do next, I have gone and got an endoscope. This is not going up anyone's bottom, this is going up the bottom of the engine. Because what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to drop the frothy mess that is passing for oil in this thing, wiggle this thing up in there, and then we shall see exactly how bad things look inside. And hopefully we're going to see some shiny metal, not rusty metal. Now, I've not even opened this out of the packet yet, so I don't know how it works or what to do with it, but I know it's Wi-Fi, and that's kind of it really so far. We'll figure this out in a moment. Right, I'm going to get some dirty clothes on, drop the oil, and then see how bad this really is. So currently, this car and its immobiliser are beating me. The Mercedes and its rust are beating me, and whatever's stopping the V8 from getting back on the road and starting is beating me. But when I need a break from the broken things in the garage and something I can beat with over 600 champions, global PvP, massive PvE, I can take out the frustration of a broken car on a massive boss battle instead of going all Basil Fawlty on the windscreen of a car. And you can play it too. Use my links in the description below to download to your mobile device or PC. If you've heard of Raid Shadow Legends, you'll know it's got a ton of champions, over 600 now. It's also got an insane variety of bosses too. Let's put one of those guys in the spotlight today. The Guardian of the Void Keep, Malek Kovar. Once a priest of the light, he had a change of heart. The way he saw it, light might be fast, but darkness always gets there first. His fellow priests didn't quite see it that way, and he doesn't work there anymore. Luckily for us, he went off to master the magic of the void, so we now have a nice supply of void potions to ascend our champions with. But being bitter about the whole exile thing, he's not giving up his potions without a fight. The main trick to battling Malek is dealing with the poison attack. He has an ability that deals all the poison damage you could take in one go, and that'll take out your whole team if you're not careful. His poison debuffs can't be blocked or resisted either. You'll need shield buffs and healing to counteract the damage, or just the ability to remove debuffs directly and often. If you can cleanse debuffs on this boss, you'll be good to go. He doesn't have many other tools at his disposal. Now, you know I'm a bit of a collector and a bit of a hoarder, so the thing I like about Raid is a huge range of champions you can collect and then develop their abilities to create your perfect team with a wide range of skills, ready to take on all those powerful bosses. The game is so involving and just builds a whole world around you. And this month's Raid's got a non-stop schedule of events and activities, including an absolutely jam-packed Halloween lineup towards the end of the month. We're talking big rewards, tournaments against other players, special fragment events to get some brand new legendary champions, including one very spooky Halloween champion, and much more. Raid is bigger, busier and better than ever, and there are some giant updates coming very soon, so there's really never been a better time to get started. If you want a huge head start in Raid, all you need to do is hit the link in the description below or scan my QR code, and you'll get an epic hero, Chonuru, who is amazing in the Doom Tower, by the way. 200k silver, 1 XP boost and 1 energy refill and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in game. All this treasure will be waiting for you. It's that easy. Just click the link in the description and start playing. Now back to beating something that's broken. So as I say, the immobiliser is still on, and I'm loving more and more this cloth interior, although I would quite fancy going and finding the correct leather that came with this car. There's more I found out about this car. Let me show you as we talk. Looking in the boot of the car, someone was correct. One of the weird plastic things that was down there in the boot was actually one of the hinges for this parcel shelf. So I have got half a parcel shelf which can be going up. I've also been collecting bits for a next episode of Junk in the Trunk. If you've got anything else for Junk in the Trunk, This is the episode to send it to, where we'll share with the class. I went and found the cheapest oil I could possibly lay my hands on because it's not going to be in the engine for very long. Bought a bunch of service items. So we've got some spark plugs, air filter. I only bought one oil filter stupidly because I'm going to need about 4 oil filters, because what I'm going to have to do is flush it all out, clean it all out, then you head on, run it very briefly with this oil filter and that oil, and then change it again almost straight away, and then do that several times just to flush all the gunk out that's making that engine disgusting at the moment. Right. Additionally, yeah, what was I saying about this is the I think it's called Norse trim, which I believe they use the same fabric but in different colours in Land Rovers. This car I've been speaking to, let's climb inside quickly. I've actually been talking to several people online who have previously owned this car, including someone who's a friend, who's also a friend of Hubnut as well. He's owned this car twice, but the second time he'd owned it, it had been slightly abused, and the leather interior originally came with a choice of this fabric or black leather with purple bits, which is really fantastic and very, very rare, but it had all been just messed up. So he put this fabric interior in when he owned it the second time. So there's like 5 owners on the logbook. One of them is him twice. So, well, we now know how it came to have this fabric interior when it should have a leather interior. So if anyone has the black leather interior that goes from a 200 VI, which is not quite the same as the regular black leather, then do let me know. Let's get back under the bonnet and talk more. I foolishly said in the last video these might be the same wheels as the BRM. I know they're not. Looking at them now more clearly, they're totally different. I've actually got BRM type wheels on the coupe, so I know exactly what BRM wheels look like. There we go. Right, so the battery is now registering as full. It's been on charge pretty much constantly for as long as the car has been here. I have been up to Halfords a couple of times in the last couple of weeks and taken batteries with them and asked them really nicely if they would just check them over the counter for me. Every time I've got a car with an apparent dead battery, I test everything else, come back to it, take the battery down to Halfords, they test it, it turns out to be being a dead battery all along. With the battery tester, I can just test that and find out if it's dead from the get-go. So I'll actually quickly test that in a second to see if this is a dead battery or not. I think it will be. So let's get this light up on here so we can see what we're doing. It's getting a bit dark, and I think it's going to rain before too very long. Now someone has put on a pretty fancy alloy oil filler cap just there. Now, right, so because I'm fed up of buying batteries all the time and having batteries I don't know if they're dead or not, I've been and got a Draper 92455 battery tester to see more than just whether it's got 12 volts or not. So first one, battery test, voltmeter 13.1 volts. It's holding a good charge. Going through the battery testing procedure, setting this down to a 360 cold cranking amps, testing, health 11%, 122 amps, 100% charge, 12.95 volts. Yeah, basically it's a dead one. I have to go and steal another battery or something else in the meantime, or go and buy a new one. So the big word there, replace. Yet another battery for the scrap pile. Right, so I've got the car jacked up a little bit. The oil sump plug is just down here behind this annoyingly placed large sheet of plastic. 15mm thing, so I'll get that oil drained out and then see how bad it really is. Let's see if I can actually get this thing undone, or is it going to be an absolute pain in the bum. Oops, that actually came loose with the ratchet wrench in the end. Just got the right angle on it, which made life an awful lot easier, but this is going to be very gross very soon. So this stupid tray thing is really in the way. Oh, it's going to be so horrible when it comes out. How long is the thread on this thing? Crikey. It's gone forever. Oh my word. Can you see that? It's not even trying to be the right colour. That is the worst light you've ever seen locked up in a motorway service station. It's disgusting. Well, we'll let this can of Dulux off-white beige dribble out. It's going to start on the top end of the engine, see what we can see up there. Well, first of all, that is very, very full indeed. Unfortunately, it's kind of got darker as it's gone along, but still not the prettiest thing in the world. I'm just going to drag this out very carefully and then see how bad it actually is. Let's drag this out and try to spill the entire contents on the floor. The way this works, this little device here projects a Wi-Fi field that the phone connects to. The camera is on the end of this kind of stiff wire thing here with a light in the end, so you can put it inside the car and see what goes on. And whatever that sees, and this focusing is very, very close up, appears on the screen of the camera. There, for example, is the sump plug. So let's take a look and see what we can see inside the engine, if anything. I can see it's very oily. Right, let's give that a wipe over and try that again. Okay, so we're inside the engine, and it doesn't actually look too terrible. So we're kind of misty. Oh, there's oil dripping on the lens again, but for a moment I had that and it looked quite clean and shiny. Well, as shiny as you're going to get when you're covered in treacle. There you go, can you see that? It doesn't look like I've got rust on there. It looks like I think that's a conrod I'm looking at just there. That looks nice and clean. Do you know what? I think, looking at that bit of metal just there, we've got away with this. This engine is a good one. We don't need a complete strip down, because that was the other possibility we might be needing stuff. I don't know what you're seeing on this video of a iPhone on a GoPro. So yeah, I realise this isn't the clearest video because it's kind of hazy with all the oil that's in there. But looking at what we can see, I can't see any corrosion. And I'm not seeing sparkly stuff in the form of metal shards anywhere either. So I think we've kind of gotten away with this. This engine looks like it's a goer, so it's just a clean up head gasket, maybe a skim, and we're away. Right, let's get out of here. And if you wonder what it looks like when it comes out, that was after a good run. Yuck. Well, okay, so that's all good news, because it looks like the engine inside internally is not corroded, because a big concern when you've got a head gasket and leave it sitting a while is the water in the oil will start to corrode the metal of the internals of the engine. This thing I'm sitting on is really wet. However, it looks like in this case that hasn't happened. The oil content was strong enough, the time period was short enough that we've gotten away with it. In fact, I've just noticed this label here on the front of the slam panel, 0720. That oil I've just taken out of this car was new in August last year. So it's not even ancient oil I'm pouring out of here like it is sometimes the thick black sludge. This is fairly fresh oil that hasn't done very many miles before it was contaminated. Moving forward, the next thing I'm going to sort out is the immobiliser, because I can't do a thing on this car if I can't crank it. It's just endlessly going to be irritating and just such a full stop on the project if the immobiliser electronically stops everything mechanical happening. That happened on the Quentin convertible Saga. That took weeks. I think I've got a quicker solution, and that will be the next video on this car. Now I was going to put that cheap can of oil in the engine to kind of keep the internals lubed and protected, so that on the off chance that I have to leave it sitting any period of time, they won't then surface corrode because there's no oil in there. But I'm thinking I'm going to start taking parts off the engine to physically clean the internals, take the pipes off. If I can get the sump out, I will get the sump out, that kind of thing, just to start cleaning it. So I'm not going to put any oil in just yet. Following that is going to be the head off, so we can start looking at the head gasket. Now, the same person who did the interior also told me that about 10-15 years ago this has had a head gasket fail already, and the head was skimmed back then. And that does mean that the potential for skimming this head again is very, very slim indeed. So once it's off, I'm going to pop it down to a machine shop and we'll have a look and see what they say about whether or not we can do any kind of future repairs, or if I've got to go and find a new head for this car. But that's something we'll find out in a future episode. Anyway, in the meantime, if you've been impressed with any of the tools I've been using today, all of these are linked, Amazon links below. There are what are called affiliate links. If you click on any of those and buy any of the tools I'm using, it will result in a small kickback to me, which helps keep the channel going. So you can help support the channel by buying nice shiny new toys for yourself. Oh, another thing, a lot of people were saying on the last video, man, my trousers are soaking from sitting on there now. The rain really came down. That I can probably sand this back. I don't know, it looks like it's quite deeply yellow through a lot of the plastic. Yeah, I agree, it does look like someone has painted it, but even if you scrape what looks like painted surface off, it's kind of a manky set of headlights under there, so I think we might be looking at a new set of headlights for this car. But obviously that's low down the priority list, because cars that don't drive anywhere don't really need new headlights. Not yet anyway. That time will come. Right, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed finding out the future situation of this car, which has yet to have a name. Vivian, Vincent, the VI, something the VI. My cousin Vinny, my Rover Vinny. I don't know. We need a name for this car, really, don't we? We've only named Quentin so far and Veyford the Volvo. 2 V cars, who knew? And of course, don't forget, this does not mean that I'm ignoring the other projects, because the V8 has been happening in the background, but that's a long project, and even a short video on that takes a couple of days to film, so more V8 stuff coming soon. Thank you for watching. Hit the raid description, because that is a bargain there as well. Hit the subscribe button, that matters too. I'll see you again next time.